week.
Yes, that is awesome. Thanks to the greatness of our producer, Monkey Butt, for hooking us up on the.
And with a name like that, you better be good.
That's right. That's right. That's right. We are back. It is episode 45 of the Metal Roundtable. I am Metal Rob, and with me, as always, is the great,
inevitable Corcus John.
That's right. Now let's get, the important stuff out of the way here.
Okay.
I can read your shirt with the greatest of ease.
That is really too bad, but I told Hanoi Padrawan that I was going to wear their shirt from the great mighty Black Thrashers from the Philippines, Pagan Fire.
Pagan Fire.
So they've just released a split with Perpetual, which is a killer grindcore band. And so check them out. They're awesome.
Okay, Pagan Fire. I will be checking that out. In fact, I will be writing myself a note here during the show.
Write yourself a note.
Cool. Well, we have a guest coming up today, but we'll get to that as soon as Monkey Butt lets us know that we're all connected up.
And connected.
But we are actively trying to gather more guests, and that is going to start today with CJ Ortiz, the Metal Motivator.
Right on.
But I've also made contact with Rob DeLuca, the bass player of UFO and Spread Eagle and the Sebastian Bach Band.
Yeah.
How about that?
That's cool.
So we are setting something up for late March, but he did respond, and I'm stoked about that. And
well, I know the first question I'm going to ask him.
And so we're going to...
is that an ode to Blue Oyster Cult? Maybe he watched an episode.
Oh, maybe so. I don't know. But he did subscribe to the channel, so I'm pretty stoked that the bassist of UFO has subscribed to the channel, which is what you need to do.
Right. Doctor, please subscribe.
Yeah. Now we continue to this painful migration because I didn't know any better. I had the Metal Rob channel set up on YouTube, and I've had it for years, and then
this.
And then Captain Warner over here told me, hey, ding dong, you got to have a branded channel.
Hey, did you know his brother or his cousin Steve Warner, the great country singer?
I did know that. I've heard that rumor.
I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Thank you.
We're in the midst of greatness.
So he tells me, no, you got to have a branded channel, dummy. You to do this, you have to do this, and you have to do this. And blah,
to do
blah,
this,
blah.
you have to do that.
So people keep subscribing to the Metal Rob channel, which was my old personal channel, but I'm trying to migrate everybody over to YouTube. So what we need you to do, go to the YouTube channel. When you're watching those videos, make sure that you're on the Metal Roundtable channel. Hit that subscribe button. We would love you forever. And while I'm still rambling early, I want to give a shout out to great Keith Tabler at the Record Cassette and CD Asylum on Facebook.
Yep, they're awesome.
They have been kings of metal on there since 2015. If you are looking for metal vinyl, as you know,
or cassettes,
we've both scored some great stuff off of there.
Yes, we have. They
gave me the permission to work in concert with them to promote the show, and I in turn told them I would promote them, and so you're probably going to see me wearing. I will wash it, but you're going to see me wearing this T-shirt a lot. Plus, I'm not going to lie to you, I'm running out of concert shirts. I'm starting to run out of band shirts.
Well, if you put on a little weight or stuff a pillow up there, I got plenty.
I got plenty going on in here.
Plenty.
So, and then another thing is we're going to give out the 877 number early. The 877 number is 877-337-5844. And here's what we've got for you today.
Did somebody already call?
That's our guest.
Okay, good.
So today, for your edification, I've got Tango Down or Romeo Riot vinyl, provided to us by my great buddy Matt Hunt at Brutal Planet Records. So to give you an idea, Firehouse, okay? If you like Firehouse and that sort of thing,
you're going to dig that.
That kind of traditional popish metal, commercial metal, if you will. That's what this is. I'll give you your choice if you call us at 877-337-5844. Do they need an extension number to get up? 1-0-1. Call up and we will hook you up with a record, kids, of your choice. How about that?
Right.
Yeah, I got even better news.
What's that?
You have a caller on the phone.
Oh, my
what
goodness.
the heck?
I don't know. He called in. He's a prank phone caller, I believe.
Is he the? It's not the metal motivator by any chance. Is
I
it?
don't know. Some guy, he wanted to call in and talk to you. Is
Cool.
he there?
Right.
Hello?
Yeah, man.
There he is.
CJ, how are you, man? It's nice to meet you.
Great. How are you, man?
Good, good, good. We
Where's my
are.
boy John.
Yeah, I'm here. I've already met you, so we're boys from the hood from way back.
Oh, that's right.
I believe that's how
Right.
we got this connection, was because you and John go back a ways, do you not?
Yeah, we met. Several years ago, I guess.
Yeah, it's
And,
been some time.
A lot of mutual friends, and I don't know how exactly we connected, though, John. Maybe you remember.
It's
but,
got to be. It's probably through our friend Todd Pack. He
I'm guessing it would be.
yeah, probably so. And somehow we ended up doing like a mutually agreed metal lunch, metal late lunch, early dinner type thing, kind of monthly, I guess. I guess when you were over at Bronson Rock, when you were booking and kind of running
Right.
things over there, and it was nice just to sit down, hang out, eat good food, talk about metal music and mayhem and a lot of mayhem.
Now, did he book that Winger show that we so enjoyed over
I don't
there?
know, but if he did, kudos.
Yeah.
Is he there? And he's not there. Ah, technology.
He's there.
He is there? I don't hear him.
Yep, I got nothing.
Well,
Well,
I could-
welcome to the live show,
yeah,
kids.
welcome to live. This is real. There's the real deal.
It's all good. So,
I can throw a few shout outs out there. if
yeah,
you
man,
want.
hit it with your shout outs.
And-
We'll get him
and-
back.
Okay. Well, and not to I've taken a new attitude in life. And it's trample the weak and hurdle the dead. And
Are you motivated?
I am motivated. I'm coming out of the trenches, guns a blazing, and feeling indestructible. So a shout out to Brett Stalkup and the NTL Never Too Late team of motivational folks. I especially want to shout out to Skylar Gardner, outstanding person, and Ronnie Anderson, the brother that I never had. And I especially want to shout out to Tara Taylor and her family and baby Neva. We lost Hannes this week, over the weekend. And Hannes Bojax was the guitarist from an up-and-coming doom band called Sixes. I know the band is devastated. The family's devastated. He went down a few weeks ago, the night of the Vader show here in Fort Worth, or in Dallas. And our heart goes out to them.
Absolutely.
But they're strong folks, and they say it takes a village to raise a child. Well, Tara's family is like a whole community of folks, and they've come together to try and help her get on her feet and raise baby Neva. So that's what metalheads do. We collaborate, we collectively get together, and we support each other. And in fact, that's kind of what I've learned from CJ, and that's kind of part of his thing as the metal motivator, is to try and rally people and get their heads together for one cause.
Agreed. You still doing shout outs over there, big boy?
Well, I was trying to get a hold of CJ. I don't know. CJ, are you there? All right, I'm going to try and transfer him back up. It says he says he can hear everything, but he is not able to talk. So I'm going to try one more thing.
Okay, cool.
But that's it.
Yeah, keep rolling.
Like I said, I went through our buddy Brett has this. He's a lawyer, so you have to really pay attention to when he asks you to do something. And he asked me to come help him with the program on Saturday, this N2L, and I ended up going through the program. And man, what an exciting time to get your head together. So, like I said, shout out to them. And I'm hearing a phone ringing in my head. Is that just me? Is this
Hello?
Are you playing a Pink Floyd record? I'm not quite sure.
Well,
Okay.
hey, there we
Hey,
go.
there he is.
We're back. We're back.
How about that?
Well, introduce yourself, brother, and tell us how in the world you became the metal motivator.
Oh, wow. Yeah, let me just say a few thousand words. Well,
We have time.
yeah. Well, for me, it there's a long history to it, but more specifically, when about 2008, I reconnected, who John mentioned earlier, Todd Pack. He and I had been separated for about a quarter century. And we got connected. And out of that initial, in fact, in that very initial conversation, I mentioned to him the idea I had for something called Metal Motivation. And it was about a year prior to that, 2007. I was talking to another life coach. I was helping him with his marketing, which is another part of what I do. And we got to talk about mutual ideas. And he said, you know what, I really like what you're saying. How about we do something together? We started to. I called it 10 Times More. This is before the Grant Cardone book even. I wanted to call it 10 Times More. And then by the end of that year, he decided to run for Congress. So he was out. And I liked the idea of, you know, doing something with someone else. And so going into 2008, I was watching YouTube one day and saw a guy who looked like kind of a punk rocker. He did a motivational video. It's kind of like on the secret law of attraction kind of stuff. And although I wasn't down with the content, he did a really, really good job. And I remember thinking to myself, I said, man, if I did that, I would do it metal.
There you go.
So I wrote down on a piece of paper right next to me, Metal Motivation. And that was really the birth of that idea. By July of that year, I reconnected with Todd Pack and started to talk to him about it. He said he was in. We spent a year getting ready and launched it on Halloween of 2009. So just this past Halloween, I celebrated 10 years of Metal Motivation. So I was one of the early people to do the Facebook influencing and Facebook pages and all this kind of stuff and video things about motivation. And but they're targeted to the heavy metal community. So the way it's often described is people will say, even though it's not like this guy, they'll say Tony Robbins meets Metallica, just to kind of give people an understanding of what it is.
I like that combo.
Tony Robbins.
Yeah. I like it.
But it kind of explains, you know, in essence what it is, and it's grown by leaps and bounds. I've met more amazing people like yourselves all over the world. I've met some of my musical heroes. I've just so many people right now that are important to me in my life have come out of this. And of course, you know, the changed lives are amazing. I remember before we launched, Todd Pack flew up here to my home in North Carolina, and we were walking my dogs, and we were on the way back, and we're just shy of my house, and I told him, I said, dude, the day is going to come after we do this where, you know, some people are, you know, they're on a path right now to destruction, but you're going to stop them. They're on a path right now to just doing nothing, and you're going to help them get out of that. You're going to help them get out of slumps. You're going to help them change directions. You're going to help, you know, relationships stay together, kids be taken care of. People make decisions that are going to launch them into the things that they've always dreamed of just because you were standing in the way. And, you know, it's hard to fathom because nothing had been done yet. We didn't even have a Facebook page at this time. And so now to look back, I've got now thousands of comments that I keep in a running Word document that I've had since I started. And, man, there are churches who wish they had these kind of testimonies about, you know, changed lives. And I'd have never thought, you know, some guy throwing horns on Facebook or YouTube could do that, could make even a dent. I just thought people would think it was you know, it's cute, you know, it's okay, cool, metal. They take it as seriously as they take professional wrestling. But no, there's people who I have people who have tattooed my logo to their skin, so it got pretty serious, man. But
well,
it's been awesome.
But CJ, don't you think that, and we've had this discussion before, that metal is not just a passing fancy. It's more of an attitude, lifestyle, et cetera, et cetera. And once you dial into that and direct it, that aggression or that speed of things into the right direction, don't you think that that's why people are able to make that adjustment? Maybe some more quicker than others, but it's not just like I said, something that's it's not a fad. It's not just something that's going to go away.
Right. No. Yeah. If metal was destructive, we wouldn't be listening to it 30 years later.
There you
You
go.
know,
True.
so metal is by definition motivating. I would argue it's the most motivating form of music on the planet. You don't take classical music to the gym. You know what I mean? You don't take jazz to the gym unless you're maybe treadmilling it.
Yeah,
But,
right.
you know, metal has fought long and hard, you know, to find its place in the world. We all remember the days, you know, when Rob Halford and Ozzy Osbourne were in court, you know,
Yeah.
trying to fend off lawyers who were accusing them of causing kids to commit suicide. And we went through the censorship days, and we saw guys like Dee Snider, you know, making a stand
Yep.
for heavy metal. And we've had to fight. We've never had an easy road. So to me, when you go back to Black Sabbath, which we just celebrated the anniversary of that album, when you know you go from Black Sabbath to now, and you think of what metal has had to overcome with no support from the mainstream, no help, demonized, and to be where it is today, to be this global force. You don't have any other genre of music that spreads like wildfire and inspires kids in India like heavy metal does. So how do you get from, you know, Black Sabbath to what we have today without people who are filled with vision, determination, overcoming obstacles, working it on the road, sweating, believing, fighting the hardship? If that's not motivation, I don't know what is. In all honesty, I have no idea what is motivation. So to me, all I did was put a face and a name to it, you know. But metalheads have always been using metal, you know, for motivation. They've always used metal to change their mood. They've always used metal to change. And of course, now we've seen it. We've seen all the articles, right, about how heavy metal is helpful. You know, how heavy metal can help people, you know, channel that angst and anxiety. We've seen, you know, how all the kids from the 80s, all of us guys who now grown up, we all turned out pretty good. Everybody was scared to death. We were headed for destruction back when we were kids.
And now that we all have jobs and a little bit of money to spend, we're able to support the scene even more. All the new and upcoming bands.
Yeah, that's the key. When I took my kids who had never seen them last year to Metallica, and this was at our main PNC arena. So this is where all our big sports teams play. This is the big indoor venue for anything that's larger than life. So that's where Metallica played. That venue has been there for 17 years. And I knew when I pulled off the highway, just at the exit right outside, and it took me an hour and a half to get from that exit into the parking lot, that something was going on that was uncanny. And we had to park far away. Of course, if we read the next day that Metallica had set the attendance record for that stadium. Its entire history was broken. That record was broken by Metallica.
A heavy metal band.
Ladies. This is a thrash metal band, guys. A thrash metal band broke the attendance record. And on top of that, as I'm walking through the parking lot, I'm noticing the cars. And I'm realizing, first of all, these aren't the cars in the parking lot from the Metallica show I went to in 1983.
No, I bet they weren't. They don't make the Maverick anymore, or the Pinto,
No.
or the Vega.
No, so, but here's the thing is, as I'm walking through, I realized, you know what? I could be at the Super Bowl based on the cars, and I wouldn't know the difference. I could be at any sporting event, and I wouldn't know the difference. Because there's nothing about the cars that is a metal show. And then when I went inside the stadium, same thing. I had to kind of look around for somebody with long hair. There was kids, there was teenagers, there was people I couldn't figure out how in the world they even knew how to spell Metallica, let alone be there. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's like, okay, well, this is something now that's so much bigger. And again, you know, we're all metal purists. So on a separate topic, we talk about the nuances of whether we like or dislike anything about Metallica. I get that, right? But to me, if you can do that, then I don't care what the snare sounded like on Saint Anger.
Right.
It doesn't offset how a thrash band called Metallica. I'm not talking about a pop band. I'm not talking about Justin Bieber. I'm not talking about something manufactured by a record label. I'm talking about 4 kids rebelling against the glam scene in LA, relocating to the Bay Area, took over the world, and became the biggest touring act in the history of music.
There you have it.
If that's not motivating, I don't know what else is, man.
I hear you loud and clear.
Exactly.
Hey, a couple things. And a little bit of a caveat on Todd Pack. I know he's your buddy from way back, but that dude's a very surprising guy. And I have to give him a lot of credit because when I first met him, he was just I say just a bartender, and I don't mean that in a demeaning fashion, but I had no idea that he could play drums until I saw him playing drums one night. And then I had no idea the dude could sing like that until I saw him with Iron Jaw. And so you just never know when you meet somebody the complete package of who they are and how metal has transformed them. Now,
I didn't know you were going to be a sensational internet radio host when I first saw you.
Well, thank you.
It's ridiculous.
And you had mentioned somebody else in Ozzy and Halford, and we can throw Bruce Dickinson in there too. But Rob and I were talking the other day about the new Ozzy Osbourne record, and I had mentioned it to you, and you had a hot sports opinion about that. So let's maybe deviate off the path and talk about Ozzy, the new Ozzy record. Obviously, we know that he's great because he was with, as you said, the preeminent heavy metal band in the world in Black Sabbath. But now that he's on his own, maybe for the last time, what say you?
Well, let me jump in for just 1 second, real quick. I'll tell you where I was at with this, CJ, and I'll be definitely interested to know what you think. So, as I went through this, I've anticipated this record since I heard it was coming out. I've been excited about this, and the first single that they released was Under the Graveyard, and I loved it. And I want to circle back to a lyric in that song and see what you think, and then I want you to motivate us. But this album, man, it's polarizing. People love it or they hate it. There is no lukewarm opinion about this record. I landed at a solid 7 or 7.5. I think it's a pretty good Ozzy record, especially for a modern Ozzy record. Now, I could do without the Post Malone stuff. It's not bad. It's very well done. It's just not my thing, you know. So what do you think, brother?
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I'm waiting for this record. I mean, Ozzy's done so much that it's one of those things where you don't judge him the way you judge others. And respect has a lot to do with that. You know Ozzy's going to be Ozzy. So you're not expecting him to, break any creative ceilings, or take a sudden left turn, so to speak. You know he's going to be Ozzy. But for me, I was anticipating this because Zach is involved. And, John and I were talking about this yesterday, and I said, by listening to this record, it hit me that, Zach, even though he's everywhere, he's still kind of underrated as a player because he does so much to keep himself up to speed. He works so hard. I don't know any other musician that works as hard as that guy does.
Right.
You can't keep up with the amount of bands he's in. But so that was, exciting. So for me, the guitar work on this album is great. And for me, I'll give it the higher rating because of that guitar work. And Ozzy's just being Ozzy.
Right.
So there's nothing on here that's like strange or weird or anything like that. Of course, I love the album cover.
Oh, yeah.
Was the perfect album cover. And if that's his last album, which I'm assuming it is, that's the way you want to finish. But yeah, I mean, once it got into the Post Malone thing, I was just like, okay. But you know what? Hey, it's not like that's never been done before, whatever. But yeah, I mean, the album's not necessarily going to be in my regular playlist per se, but I'm going to celebrate it for what it is. It's
right.
Ozzy Osbourne, man.
I agree. It's like when people were complaining about the latest Pink Floyd album that came out, which it's a little off the metal page, but do you want more? That's the touring band. It's like, do you want more Pink Floyd, or do you want the Pink Floyd that we have? Well, the Van Halen record, different kind of truth that came out a few years ago. Do you want leftover Van Halen songs that they re-recorded for this album, or do you not want more Van Halen?
Right.
I want more Van Halen.
Yeah, I'll take the Van Halen. So I wanted to, there's something that's sticking in my brain about this album. I think that Ozzy has struggled his whole life with obviously substances and, different struggles. And I'm very pleased to see that as we move forward as a society in the world, not only in the nation, but in the world, that mental illness is less of a stigma and we can talk about it. But one of the things about this record, and this is where I'd like to get your take and kind of see if Ozzy said this to your face, I'd like to hear what the metal motivator would say, and I'll let you motivate us. But in the first line of Under the Graveyard says, "Today I woke up and I hate myself." That kills me. That kills me. That's way too close to home with people in my family and
that's
friends.
not a good way to start your day.
Oh my gosh, that's really
so
killed
help
me.
us, metal motivator.
Yeah, motivate.
You're my only hope. You're my only hope.
Dude, all metal lyrics are negative. What are you talking about?
Of course, no, that's true. But for some reason, man, that one hit me, and it's like, oh man, I really felt that. Like, man, Ozzy sat down and wrote this. And I don't think he was kidding. So obviously, does Ozzy need a lot of motivation? I don't know. But to those people out there that need to get it together and get it out of the ditch, yeah, talk to those people.
Yeah, well, I think it's when Ozzy writes it and it's said like that, you do wonder.
Mm-hmm.
He actually means that, or if that's, if he's himself being reflective.
Right.
Because obviously we can all get motivated by a song like Angel of Death, and we're talking about the horrors of the Holocaust.
Right, exactly.
So and not think anything about it. So
right.
when Ozzy says something like that, we're like, whoa. But I think that's because of who's saying it, and because we know a bit about his history, and because we care about him.
Right.
But I do think, I would agree that there's no doubt there has to be an insecurity there. I think we've always seen it. I think he's relied upon the bands he was in, why he fell apart like he did, prior to putting his original act together, before he did Blizzard of Oz. He was not in good shape. He was,
right.
He was, buried in pizza boxes and alcohol in L.A.
Right.
And at that time, thank God for Sharon, for picking him up and getting him on board. But he's probably had facilitators his whole life, people
right.
around him to help him. And when you do that, you never really grow in personal strength. It's kind of like, I'm not a tall person. And so when you don't have stature to lean on when you grow up, you learn to lean on other things. And they tend to be things that are more internal. So if you're a big guy, and I've had this before, I've been in like little counseling sessions with guys that are like 6'4", and they come in to meet, and they start to talk about their situation, and I'll notice their bottom lip is quivering. And I'm like, what's wrong, man? And they're like, dude, I'm just scared to death I'm going to say something stupid. And it's like, really? That's your concern? But you see, he's never had to think about that before. He was always able to rely upon the fact that he's 6'4". And so when you never learn how to rely upon inner things, inner strength, and really develop that, well then, yeah, you get in certain situations and that weakness begins to come out. So somebody like an Ozzy, it doesn't matter how bad he feels. It doesn't matter how weak he is. It doesn't matter how much he doesn't believe in himself. He's still going to succeed because he's got 100 people on staff making sure he does.
Right.
You know what I mean? So then the successes don't necessarily mean as much to him, because can he lay claim to them himself, or is he not aware that he doesn't even have to make his own lunch maybe sometimes? So it's I feel for him in that sense. Now I'm completely speculating.
Of course.
I
Yeah.
don't know Ozzy. I've never had a conversation with Ozzy.
Well,
But just from
I was going to say I've read the books on Ozzy, and I know there's a whole. I can't believe that he would be able to write a book and remember anything. And in fact, just based on the Motley Crue stories, it's amazing. I guess he had other witnesses to his actions and so forth. But to your point, he's always had somebody there to buoy him up, including Sharon, which I know has been vilified. And I saw her on a Graham Norton interview on the BBC, and I think I turned around a little bit on her, because I think she's put up with quite a bit, and she's still there. And yes, I know it's the gravy train and all that, but she's put up with a lot, I think, in order to maintain that gravy train. But to your point, she's there to prop him up. In fact, it's like Weekend at Ozzy's. That'll be the new movie instead of the Weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah, no, I feel for him, and so I can understand how even in the midst of success, someone can say they hate themselves, because I think it was Paul Stanley who said in that the decline of Western civilization, he says all that having money does is enable you not to worry about money. Well, that's not a lot.
No, that's not a lot. There's a lot more to life than that, although money is great, and it's a means to an end, but good grief, if that's all you got.
In other words, if you have enough, if you have sufficient funds, if you're rich, how long does it take for you to get used to that? Not long.
No.
So
it would take me about a nanosecond.
It's never, we'd all like to try. It's never a thought. Therefore, you're still left with yourself. So he can't wake up and look at his albums necessarily, look at his home, look at his possessions, or look at his bank account and overcome whatever he feels about him. We have to look at his starting point. We have to look at what he came out of. And it seems like he was always challenged in that way. Now, this doesn't, take away from the creativity of Ozzy and the personality of Ozzy. He's an entertainer. But we look at a Robin Williams. I was watching some Robin Williams interviews from Johnny Carson from back in the 80s. Absolutely hilarious. But who'd have had any idea that guy, struggled with the demons that he struggled with, despite being, one of the greatest comedic actors and comedians the world has ever known. So, it's hard to overcome these things when they're internal. But how it relates to us, how it relates to somebody that's listening to this right now, are you waking up, and is that what you're saying to yourself? To hate yourself. That's an extremely strong word. There's certain words I will not use. One word I will not use is the word ugly. I will never describe to another human being, or to another human being, using the word ugly. It's a devastating word. It mars people. Very, very sensitive. And so to say also to hate oneself, is it an exaggeration? Does he really mean what he says? And do people really mean what they say? I think oftentimes people do mean what they say, because they feel like they haven't given themselves reason to feel good about themselves. And sometimes, you know what? We don't need to be blowing sunshine up our asses and lying to ourselves and listening to the pop motivational speakers who tell you, hey, feel good just for the sake of feeling good.
Amen, brother.
He's preaching to the choir.
That's the best thing I've heard yet. Yeah.
Reverend CJ preaching to the choir again.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, keep it going, brother.
Sometimes, there's good reason to feel. You need to be able to feel bad about poor performance without condemning yourself. When we condemn a building, we condemn it because it can no longer be used for business or home life, right? It's not usable anymore. So we allot it for destruction. But you have to inspect the integrity of the building and see, is it usable anymore? And if it's not, the building is condemned. So if somebody's going to condemn themselves in such harsh ways by saying that you hate yourself, then what you're saying is you are not usable for any good purpose, which is simply not true.
So
It's simply not true.
when somebody says something like that, and you've counseled many people, heck, you've counseled me at our metal motivated lunches. When a person says that, is it a grab for attention? Is it a cry for help? Is it just someone being silly? I mean, in your experience, I mean, what does that equate to, or all of the above?
The ones that I'm most concerned about are the people who are saying, I hate myself, and we never hear them say it. Those are the ones I'm most concerned about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the one who says it all the time to everybody. Yeah, they're probably, there's benefit to being a victim. There's benefit.
Sure.
You get people who rub your back. You get people who take time with you. You get people who listen to your stories all the time. It pays to be a victim. Victimhood is
it's a whole new business.
That. They get their identity from it. But then there's those others who don't say a word, and they silently suffer.
Yep.
And for them, oftentimes they don't have any contrary voices. You would think that in an age in which we have luxury and ease like generations before us could never dream of, I can turn on a light with a flip of a switch. I can adjust the thermostat. I can go on the internet on a phone. I can talk to you guys on that said phone. I have refrigerated food, mass transportation, media on demand. Somebody comes up and picks up my trash and my recycling.
Mm-hmm.
Well, isn't it interesting?
At that age,
I was going to say, isn't it interesting that the world is connected by this worldwide web, if you will, and yet we're so distant from each other, even though our proximity, I mean, I can, like my friend that gave me this T-shirt, he's in the Philippines. I've never actually met him in person, but I feel like I know him because we're able to communicate with like you say, a keystroke or the movement of a mouse. But so how does that help us or hurt us in the big in the big picture?
Right. I mean, as a friend of mine says, we're so connected, we're disconnected.
Yep.
That
Agreed.
what happens is that because everything is easy, because everything is luxury, then you don't develop yourself. You don't do it. You just you just go through life because it's easy to go through life. It's easy to pacify yourself. It's easy to medicate yourself. Even if it's as simple as wasting time on television, it's easy to medicate yourself. So nobody's working on building any sort of strength. I mean, my whole thesis for what I do with mental motivation is this one simple phrase, and that is, your best defense is a stronger you. Because, you can't write enough self-help books or make enough self-help videos to address everybody's individual particular problems, challenges, or whatever. But the one thing I can say is, well, if I can create stronger people, they can overcome anything.
Amen.
And that's the thing, is that, does a person value who they are? More often than not, they don't. What they don't realize is, and what I hope an awakening hits them, is that they have a sacred duty to themselves. They have a sacred obligation to maximize all that they are and all that they can do, and hopefully for a purpose greater than themselves. If they'll do that, they'll have success, fulfillment, and lasting happiness. Because it doesn't come from the outside. It doesn't come from having the right relationship, having the right house, having the right job, having the right anything. It's about developing who you are, what you can do, what your interests are. Developing those, maximizing those. Not for measuring it by monetary gain, but simply because it's your obligation to yourself. I work with a music academy. Well, it's not a to prepare musicians. It's called the Savvy Musician Academy, and it trains musicians and bands who are recording artists to promote their own music online. So it's a marketing kind of thing, education. But I'll talk to those students, and I'll have these group coaching calls with several of all kinds of genres of musicians and artists. But I'll tell them, because a lot of them, as creative souls, are kind of fearful, and they're shy when it comes to self-promotion. But I'll tell them, God forbid Michael Jackson, the Beatles, Neil Diamond, Metallica, or whoever, God forbid they were too scared to put themselves out there. God forbid they were too scared or reluctant to maximize what they could do. If you have abilities, if you have interests, if you have something that you can make a positive contribution to this world, well, that's your dues to the biggest fraternity of all time, humanity. You got to pay it, right? And that's where Metal Up comes in, because people will tell me all the time when I say, Metal Up, they're like, they hate it sometimes. Because they say, I can't just metal up, man. I hate when people say that. You can't just metal up. Well, sure you can. It's just a question of when. At some point, you may not be able to do it today. Your dark season may be so bad you can't do it today. But at some point, you're going to get tired of it, and you're just going to leave.
So I see Rob over
I
here.
love this guy.
He's smiling ear to ear, and he's nodding. I don't know if it's because he's going, yep, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. I know that every time I talk to you, CJ, I'm motivated to be not only a better John Fossum, Carcass John, I'm motivated to be a better person, a better guy at work, a better boss, a better motivator of people. So if you were going to just tie this little brief discussion with a bow and say, this is my mission statement, and peace, I'm out, what would you say?
Yeah, I would. I say something that most people don't necessarily get, and I guess I'll really know that things have made a breakthrough when people finally understand what I mean by this. If I had to summarize my entire philosophy into a single word, it would be determination. And that simply means that, most people are governed by a form of fatalism. Fatalism means as in fatal wound.
We just talked about this.
Yeah, we sure did.
With my buddy.
Yep.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Fatalism means, that there's some predetermined thing that you can't escape. And so people who are fatalistic, they'll say things like, I guess it wasn't meant to be. Or what am I supposed to do? They use the language of fate.
Mm-hmm.
I like to say to people, I'm not in search of my destiny. I don't like that word. I'm not in search of my destiny. I've chosen my destination. It's determination is when you decide and work for a specific desired outcome, and you create that. One of the most brilliant interviews I ever heard was back in 1993 with Steve Jobs. When he was running the next company, he'd been booted out of Apple, and it was before he went back. And so he was selling these college computers at the next company that he owned. And in this interview, he says, we're taught when we come into this world just to, be good people, live a good life, go to college, save money, get a house, have a family, try not to bump into the world too much, but just have a good life. And he said, that's good. There's nothing wrong with that. You're not breaking any laws by doing that. He said, but life can be so much more when you realize this one thing. And he said that everything around you that you call life, right, all the luxury and ease and technology we described before, everything that is around us that we call human life, modern life, was created by people that were not all that smarter than you. Which means you can make your own contributions to what people will one day call life. And he says, once you realize that if you poke something in this world, something pops out in the other side, right? Cause and effect. that you can mold and shape reality simply by determination, he said, you'll never be the same again. And I would say, yes and amen.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yep.
can create anything from the worst. You can be in the worst position, in the weakest place, in the darkest season, and still climb out of that and be a millionaire if you wanted to be. You say, no, I don't have the willpower. No, you've got it. It's in there.
You just got to
Because
find it.
all I have to do is show up at your house every day and stick a gun to your head, and I'll get you to do everything that you said you can't do.
It's true.
So lead follower, get the heck out of the way, and we
The
all
The power is in there.
yeah.
The power is in there. You just got to value it enough. Like I said, if I said I use this example all the time because I'll talk about special forces oftentimes in some of my stuff, and I always mention the Navy SEALs because they have this Hell Week on week 4 or 5, where it is literally Hell Week, the most grueling physical things a human could go through with sleep deprivation and the whole 9 yards. And I said, you know what? I could get a young 110-pound, 23-year-old single mother to go through Hell Week. And I'll tell you how I would do it. I would simply hold a knife to the throat of her 5-year-old child. And I would say, you either finish this course with these Navy SEALs or I kill this kid. She will either die or she will complete it.
Wow. That is
At what point will she say, it's too hard, kill him?
No,
Never.
She would never say that. That's a graphic visual and a powerful image.
We have the ability. It's what you tell yourself. If you keep rehearsing the same songs and the same monologue and the same negative self-talk, you talk to yourself in a way that you'd never talk to your own child.
It's
You
true.
talk to yourself positively.
That's why Rob's smiling.
I know. I
and
can't
nodding
stop
his head.
smiling. There's so many things I wish I had told. I've got John knows, and when we talk privately, I'll tell you a little bit about this sometime. But yeah, we've got a friend that we know that we just can't save him. We just can't. We can't. We've tried.
Because
he
doesn't want to save himself.
That's exactly right.
It's almost
And
like he's fighting against it.
Yeah, and so we're hearing the message and we love it. Just to reset, we've got CJ Ortiz on the phone, the Metal Motivator. We appreciate him coming on the show. CJ, tell us, man, plug everything. Tell us about the website. Tell us about the T-shirts. Tell us about seminars. Tell us about everything you've got going.
Well, the main thing would be Metal Motivation, which is metzelmotivation.com. And from there, you can get to the store. If you want to just go to the store, you can go to metalmotivationstore.com. And it's apparel and accessories for motivated people who love heavy metal. So
I love heavy metal.
Shirts and hats and mugs and that kind of stuff. I also I do a few other podcasts and things. I do one called the University of Badassery, and that I do with my buddy Pat McNamara, who is an interesting cat himself. 22 years Special Forces, 13 years as a lead assaulter in the elite Delta Force, and he's a bad mamma jamma, but he is a total freaking full-on metalhead.
Nice.
And so that thing has really taken off. And that's really exploded, man. And we've got sponsors and all kinds of stuff. So that thing's really taken off. And he was on Joe Rogan last year. So he's
Awesome.
got a lot of movie stars and things that follow him. And he's been a great friend. And this project that we've done together has been awesome. We're going to do some other things together, but that is the University of Badassery.com if anybody wants to listen to those. In fact, we just did a 2.5-hour episode just on the story of Lewis and Clark. So we get into some really, really wild, deep, what we would consider real badasses. You know what I mean?
Those dudes were totally metal.
Not football players and that kind of horse crap. Real badasses. The guys who carved this nation. And so that's another thing that somebody can check out. And then for any musicians who are interested in looking into what they can do possibly on their own without a record label and actually have a viable music career. That's at the SavvyMusicianAcademy.com. That's headed up by my friend Leah McHenry, who you guys might want to check out sometime, man.
Cool.
I call her the heavy metal Enya. Incredible vocalist. Again, think Enya meets heavy metal.
Wow.
And very, very gothic. And but she's put out several albums, and she had guest appearances like what's his name? Oh Lord, my mind just went blank.
Carrot
guitar
Top
player from Testament.
was
not
it Carrot?
Skolnick, the other guy.
Oh, Eric Peterson.
Eric Peterson.
It wasn't Carrot Top.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. No, Eric Peterson and Carrot Top are about the juxtaposition there is immense.
Yeah, but Eric is played on one of her albums, but she's phenomenal, man. But here she is, a homeschooling mother of 5 kids, and earns upwards of 6 figures every year just on her music, completely doing it on her own.
Wow.
Love it.
That is
Yeah.
inspirational.
That is motivation.
That is metal motivation.
Did you hear me, Carcass?
I did hear you.
You better get motivated.
I am motivated.
Well, CJ, I got to tell you, man, I very much appreciate you coming on the show today. And what I want to say, and I mean this in 100% sincerity, you have the red carpet anytime you want it. If you've got a new series, new merch you want to talk about, just something that's on your mind, the new Ozzy album, please give us a call during the show, or set some. Please come on anytime.
Or stop on in. I know you're in town into the DFW area infrequently, but when you're here, dude, let's hook it up in the studio and put a face to the voice and
yeah, we'll get the solid gold dancers in here and we'll boogie.
yeah, monkey butt, get your gold paint and your gold lame outfit on.
But yeah, in all seriousness, man, anytime, please call in anytime you feel motivated to do so. And man, we would love to have you on. I really appreciate you coming on with us.
I think you need to come to the studio.
I
sure.
really appreciate it. Let me just say this one thing, though. Well, a couple of things. I want to shout out to my beautiful lady, Lizzie Tuminelli Antunes.
She's awesome.
My wonderful partner in crime. Always been my biggest support, and probably the strongest human being I've ever met. And the stuff she contends with on a daily basis without complaining boggles my mind. She is heavy metal through and through. But
my wife as well.
You know, I say this, and it may sound a little strange, but because I can be so preachy, I have to be careful sometimes because I don't want to put myself out there as an example. In other words, what I'm talking about are principles, right? And we all believe in a whole lot of principles that we don't necessarily live up to all the time. So I don't want to put myself out there as if I'm this example, or, you know, I don't falter, or I don't have a bad day, or anything like that.
Right.
You know, I love to party. I got 2 speeds, deadly serious or partying.
And we got the right to party. Did you know that?
Oh, stop. Well,
no middle ground. So oftentimes I can be the loudest person in the room. But because you're out there and so many people just see you on a video or a podcast or what have you, they can start to think, well, this guy's too serious, or I can't live up to these standards or something like that. No. There ain't nothing I'm doing that is difficult for anybody to do. It's just a different frame of mind, and we all fall. The issue is who gets up and how quick do they get up.
Right.
So
if you pull a knife on my kid, I'm going to be seriously pissed, though, dude.
What's that?
If you pull a knife on my kid, I'm going to be pissed.
You better get motivated there, Jack.
It never gets that serious or that crazy.
No, right.
But no, Rob, thank you so much for both you guys for extending the invitation. And you know, I watched the very first Metal Roundtable, and because John sent it to me, and
Nice.
I was like, look at these guys. And because it's needed. You think, well, you know, everybody and their grandmother has a podcast or this or that. Yeah, well, if there's passion and you're good, man, you know, you can stand out. Because how many motivational speakers are there?
Millions.
In and offline.
Yep.
Yep.
Millions. But you're a cut above the rest because I think A, you're genuine, and B, you live the principles. It's like I used to tell my kids that I would coach. Michael Jordan didn't hit every shot, and Barry Bonds didn't hit every ball, over the fence. I mean, you have to figure out some way to put it into perspective, but it didn't keep them from knowing how to play the game. And we're not perfect, but we can strive for perfection. And I think that's one of the things that I kind of learned from you is that we have the tools. It's just a matter of how proficient we get with them and if we take them out of the toolbox or not.
Yep.
Sometimes we just need to hear a positive message. When I'm talking to people who are really challenged with negative thinking or what have you, and I'm going on my little diatribes about stuff or on my soapbox, I'll ask them, I say, let me just check you right now. Let's do a checkup from the neck up. How are you feeling? And they'll say, well, actually, I'm feeling pretty good. So in other words, you're not as negative as you were before right now. And they'll say, no, I'm not. And I'll say, but has anything circumstantially changed for you? No. Okay, so your circumstances are exactly the same. Yes. Okay. Then it has nothing to do with your circumstance. It's just the issue is just that for a little while here, you've submitted your thought processes to my words. That's what you did. And because my words are a positive stream, your emotions are uplifted, you feel better, you have a more positive outlook. Now, granted, after this, you may sink, but guess what? You can pick yourself back up again. You can give yourself a pep talk. You can go online and find resources that'll serve as a pep talk. Your emotion will follow your consistent thoughts. Once you realize that the universe is not out to get you, that there is no fate from which you cannot escape, it's not that the heavens themselves or the metal gods themselves have willed you to suffer or failure. No. If the problem was with the powers that be in the heavens above, then there's nothing we can do about it.
Oh, but there would be a rebellion down here on if that were the case. I can tell you right now, and I think I know a guy in North Carolina that would be leading the charge. And
Yeah.
But if the problem is us, that's good news.
That's right.
10-4.
I will
Because I can change me.
I will have both of you guys know that high and lifted up metal engineer, recording studio guru Bill Matoyer joined us during this video.
Sweet.
I will also have you know that the great Jason McMaster popped in and may still be.
He plays with
checking us
dangerous
out.
toys. Should be careful about that.
That's right. So shout out to you guys and everybody else that's watching. But again, CJ, I can't tell you enough, man. Red carpet anytime. Please call in. Let us know what you've got going on. And if you just want to talk about the new Judas Priest.
Oh, heck with the red carpet. I'll just meet him out the door and bring him up here. I mean, the guy's got more motivation than I meet most people. I mean,
you got our off-camera
our engineer,
our
Monkey
producer,
Butt is
backup motivator number 2.
That's
yeah.
right, man.
Yeah.
He is all over this.
I tell people,
Awesome.
I speak to a lot of veterans, and so a lot of times when you're contemplating where they're going in their life, whether it's just sad and despair or whatever, or it's even considered suicide, I always teach you guys, they always talk about you make the wrong turn or you screwed up. Well, you got 2 feet and you got 1 brain and you can only go forward. And they always talk about, I go left, I took right, and I took a wrong path. No, you didn't. You're still on the straight path. You just got to figure out how to keep going forward and not worry about what you can change only tomorrow. You can only change now. You can't change tomorrow. You can't change yesterday. You can't change the past. And you can only think about changing tomorrow, but you can only change right now. That's it. And I always tell people it's common sense. You just got to think common sense. But I have a motto, and it's a motto I live by, and it works for some people. It doesn't work for others. But I always tell them, look, you got only one control, and that's your life. It's not that you live every single day and worrying about the one thing you're going to achieve in your life. You live every day. You only die once. But you have to think of it this way: live life and don't let life live you.
Yep.
Right. Right on, brother.
Carcass, are you motivated?
I am motivated, man. Like I told you,
I am also motivated.
Every time I talk to CJ, I mean, he's an amazing friend and he's a great guy and he does know how to motivate.
And
Now-
apparently he knows how to party.
And yes, he does. He's got 2 speeds on
He
and off.
said it.
And but you know what? Has anybody called for the vinyl giveaway?
Nope.
I mean, I'm looking at this Tango Down, and I'm sure it's not my cup of tea, but
CJ, do you like stuff in the vein of Firehouse?
I've really never been a. I mean,
Are you
I
more
can
of a
appreciate
metal,
that kind of
heavier
stuff.
guy?
I'm more metal, man.
Okay.
Okay.
I was gonna say, if you like stuff in the vein of Firehouse, I'll send you one of these records.
I'll
but
send him an
I
insect
appreciate
warfare.
your honesty.
I'll send him an insect warfare picture disc.
yeah. Sounds like Metallica is his easy listening. So
Yeah, there you go.
like you. Yeah.
Yeah.
If it sounds like a chainsaw, Carcass loves it.
Hey, I will say this though. Just let me just one quick shout out. If you guys have not heard them, they came out with their second album recently. Their first album is one of the best metal albums I've heard in the past few years, and they're about to go on tour with Testament, and that is the band Meshiach, Meshiaak, I believe, Meshiach. And their first album, Alliance of Thieves. Do yourself a favor and listen to that album as soon as you possibly can. It is an amazing heavy metal album. The second album is great. And again, they're going on tour. They'll be here in the States with Testament. I think Testament's also in this tour was with In Flames and somebody else. I can't remember. But
Cool. I'm pulling that up right now.
Go
Yeah.
check out Meshiach, man.
Yeah,
Right
yeah,
on.
yeah. All over it. Brother, I know I've said it 3 times already. I
15
can't thank you
15
enough.
times.
Oh, my gosh. Thank you so much. I knew it was going to be good, and it even exceeded what I thought it was going to be.
Thanks,
So,
thanks,
Awesome,
CJ.
man.
Appreciate your friendship and appreciate all the kind words that are not just hollow. They all mean something.
Nikki Belmore is watching.
All right, Nikki.
Yeah.
Boy, talk about a
It's
quality
it's
guy
been
and a great
metal
drummer.
star-studded cast today.
It is.
CJ, again, we appreciate you, man. Call us anytime.
Man.
And until next time,
You got to say the liner.
you
When
got to say the liner with us.
metal will what? It'll prevail. So you got to say metal will prevail. Here we go.
All right, are you ready, CJ?
Yep.
Here we go. Until next time,
Metal
Metal will
prevail.